There is a strange reason you keep avoiding the thing you know you should do. You want the result, but you don't want to do the work. You want to get fit, but you don't want to exercise. You want to study, but your phone suddenly becomes interesting. You want to build something, but somehow cleaning your room feels urgent, and then you call yourself lazy. But what if you're not lazy? What if your brain is simply trained to crave the wrong things? Think about it. You don't have to force yourself to check your phone. You don't need discipline to scroll. You don't need motivation to watch another video. Your hand almost moves automatically. Why? Because your brain has learned something. It has learned where the reward is. And this is where discipline becomes interesting. Discipline isn't just about forcing yourself to suffer. It's about teaching your brain what to want. And once your brain starts expecting a reward from effort, discipline can become much easier. The brain doesn't naturally choose what is best. Your brain is constantly making predictions. It asks one simple question: where can I get something rewarding with the least effort? That's why easy pleasure is so powerful. Your brain loves shortcuts. Food gives you pleasure. Social media gives you novelty. Video games give you stimulation. Notifications give you anticipation. You don't have to work very hard for any of them. Now compare that with studying for 2 hours, or exercising when you're tired, or building a business for months without seeing results. The reward is delayed, and your brain notices that. This creates a problem. The thing that's good for your future often feels worse right now. The thing that's bad for your future often feels better right now, and your brain lives in the present. That's why discipline can feel uncomfortable, not because you're weak, but because you're going against a system designed to conserve energy and seek immediate rewards. The dopamine trap. You've probably heard of dopamine. People often call it the pleasure chemical, but that's an oversimplification. Dopamine is heavily involved in motivation, learning, anticipation, and reward prediction. It helps your brain decide what is worth pursuing, and this matters enormously. Imagine you pick up your phone. You open an app. You don't know what you'll see. Maybe a message. Maybe an interesting video. Maybe something funny. Maybe something completely unexpected. That uncertainty can keep your brain engaged. Your brain starts anticipating the possibility of a reward. So you keep checking. Again, and again, and again. Now imagine doing something difficult. You sit down to study. Nothing exciting happens. You read one page, then another. There is no notification, no surprise, no instant reward. Your brain says, "Why are we doing this?" And that's the moment most people quit. But here's the important part. Your brain can learn. You can train it to associate effort with reward, and that changes everything. Discipline is a learned association. Think about someone who genuinely enjoys running. You might look at them and think, they have incredible discipline. Maybe, but something else may have happened. Their brain learned to connect running with something positive. Maybe they love the feeling afterward. Maybe they enjoy seeing their progress. Maybe they feel proud after every workout. Maybe running became part of their identity. The activity itself stopped feeling like punishment. It became rewarding. This is one of the secrets of sustainable discipline. You don't want to constantly fight your brain. You want to train it. Instead of saying, "I hate studying," you begin saying, "I like becoming better at this." Instead of, "I have to exercise," you think, "I feel stronger after I exercise." Instead of, "I have to work," you think, "I'm building something that belongs to me." The words may sound simple, but your interpretation changes your emotional response, and your emotional response influences your behavior. Start smaller than your ego wants. Here's where many people make a mistake. They get motivated. They create a huge plan. Wake up at 5 a.m., work out for an hour, read 50 pages, study for 4 hours. No social media, no junk food, perfect routine. For 3 days, they feel unstoppable. Then life happens. They miss one workout, sleep late, scroll for an hour, and suddenly the entire plan collapses. Why? Because they built a routine that depended on motivation. Instead, make the starting point ridiculously small. Read 2 pages, do 5 push-ups, study for 10 minutes, write 1 paragraph, clean 1 corner of your room. It sounds almost too easy. That's the point. You're not trying to prove how disciplined you are. You're trying to teach your brain, "I am someone who starts." That identity matters. Because every time you keep a small promise to yourself, your brain receives evidence. You said you would do it, and you did, again and again and again. That's how self-trust grows. The 5-minute rule. Try this. When you don't feel like doing something, don't tell yourself you'll do it for an hour. Tell yourself you'll do it for 5 minutes. That's it, 5 minutes. You can stop afterward, but something interesting often happens. Starting was the hardest part. Once you're moving, continuing becomes easier. Your brain has crossed the resistance point, and sometimes 5 minutes becomes 20. 20 becomes 40. But even if you stop after 5, you still won because you practiced the behavior. You taught your brain that discomfort doesn't automatically mean escape. That's a powerful lesson. Make distraction harder. You don't need incredible willpower. You need a better environment. Think about your phone. If it's sitting beside you, you'll probably check it. So move it. Put it across the room. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Remove distracting apps from your home screen. Create friction, because your environment constantly influences your behavior. If the bad habit is easy, you'll repeat it more. If the good habit is easy, you'll repeat that more. Want to read? Keep the book beside your bed. Want to exercise? Put your workout clothes where you can see them. Want to study? Prepare your desk before you sleep. Make the desired behavior obvious, and make the distraction annoying. Your environment should help your future self, not sabotage them. Reward the process. Here's another mistake. People only reward outcomes. They say, I'll be happy when I lose weight. I'll be proud when I get the job. I'll celebrate when I finish the project. But the brain needs feedback during the journey. So reward the behavior. Finished your workout? Acknowledge it. Completed your study session? Notice it. Worked even when you didn't feel motivated? Be proud of that. You are teaching your brain something important. Effort leads to something positive, and that association can become stronger over time. The goal isn't to become addicted to productivity. The goal is to make progress emotionally meaningful, because what gets emotionally reinforced gets repeated. Stop waiting to feel motivated. This might be the biggest shift. Motivation is unreliable. Some mornings you will feel inspired. Other mornings, you won't. Discipline means acting without needing the perfect feeling first. But there is a secret. You don't need to feel motivated before starting. Sometimes motivation comes after starting. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates progress. Progress creates confidence. And confidence makes future action easier. So instead of asking, do I feel like doing this? Ask, what would the version of me I respect do right now? That question changes the conversation, because now you're not negotiating with your mood. You're choosing your identity. Your identity controls more than you think. Imagine two people. The first says, I am trying to exercise. The second says, I am someone who exercises. They sound similar, but psychologically, they are different. The first person is performing a behavior. The second person is protecting an identity. When discipline becomes part of your identity, you don't have to debate every decision. A person who sees themselves as a reader reads. A person who sees themselves as healthy makes different food choices. A person who sees themselves as disciplined starts even when motivation disappears. This doesn't mean you have to pretend. It means you build the identity through evidence. Every small action becomes a vote. One workout is a vote. One study session is a vote. 1 hour without distractions is a vote. You don't become disciplined in one dramatic moment. You become disciplined through hundreds of small decisions. The dark side of instant gratification. Now think about your average day. You wake up, you check your phone, you watch something, you eat something rewarding, you scroll, you receive notifications, you consume entertainment, then you sit down to work. Suddenly, work feels painfully boring. Why? Because you've spent hours training your brain to expect constant stimulation. Then normal life feels slow. Silence feels uncomfortable. Reading feels difficult. Waiting feels unbearable. Work feels boring. This doesn't mean you need to eliminate every enjoyable thing from your life. That's not realistic. The goal is balance. Give your brain moments without constant stimulation. Take a walk without your phone. Eat without watching something. Sit quietly for a few minutes. Read without switching apps. Let boredom exist. Because when your brain stops expecting stimulation every few seconds, ordinary activities can become enjoyable again. Discipline should not feel like punishment. This is important. Discipline doesn't mean destroying yourself. It doesn't mean sleeping 4 hours. It doesn't mean working until you collapse. It doesn't mean never having fun. Real discipline includes recovery, sleep, food, rest, relationships, play. A healthy brain needs all of these. The goal is not to become a machine. The goal is to become someone who can control their attention, someone who can delay gratification, someone who can keep promises to themselves, someone who can choose the long-term reward, even when the short-term option looks easier. The real trick. So how do you make your brain crave discipline? You don't force it. You condition it. Start small. Repeat consistently. Reward effort. Reduce distractions. Make good habits easy. Make bad habits harder. And most importantly, connect your actions to an identity you actually respect. Eventually, something changes. The workout becomes normal. The book becomes familiar. The desk becomes a place where you focus. Starting becomes easier. And the thing you once avoided can become the thing you miss when you don't do it. That's the real goal. Not forcing yourself forever. Training your brain until the behavior becomes natural. Final thought. Maybe you've spent years calling yourself lazy. Maybe you've said, "I'm just not disciplined." Maybe you've started over more times than you can remember. But perhaps you were never broken. Perhaps your brain simply learned a different reward system. And learned habits can be unlearned. You don't need to transform your entire life tomorrow. Start with one promise. Make it small. Keep it today. Then keep it again tomorrow. Because every time you do something difficult when nobody is watching, you're sending yourself a message. I can trust myself. And that message might be more powerful than motivation ever was. So tonight, choose one thing you've been avoiding. Make it ridiculously small. 5 minutes. No excuses. No dramatic transformation. Just one action. Because discipline isn't built when you feel powerful. It's built when you don't. And you still begin. And one day, you may look back and realize something strange. You didn't trick your brain into craving discipline. You trained it. And eventually, your brain started craving the person you were becoming. If this video describes something you've been struggling with, leave a comment saying, "I start today." Not because a comment will change your life, but because sometimes making a decision visible makes it feel real.